Well, as of today, I have done something that I never thought I would do. I inactivated my license and I quit my job as a therapist. And I feel so relieved, but not for the reasons that y'all think, right? The Lord revealed to me that he needs more of his believers in area of deliverance, not in the area of diagnosing. Because the thing is that, oh Lord, and hear me by the Spirit, these people do not have mental health issues. These are demonic beings that have access to their body, to their mind, to their soul. And what they are doing is they're manifesting the physical symptoms of being present with those demons. How do I know? I was a person that growing up, I was always ready to myself, like always. I don't know where, it came from. I don't even know how it was introduced to my life. I do not come from a family where anybody themselves. I never had any friends that themselves, but I always struggled with that. I also used to myself as well. I struggled severely from anxiety, depression, overwhelming thoughts. And it was even a time in my life where my rage would be so, I would be so enraged. I got angry all the time. And in my states of angry or anger, I would want to really hurt people. It's not funny, but I'm literally thinking about my life and the Lord has had my life on repeat. And I thought that I needed to go to therapy. I thought that I needed the medication. I thought that I needed this and I needed that. And because I was apart from the Lord for so many years of my life, and even when I first came into this field, I still was not saved. I just thought, you need somebody to talk to. You need somebody to help you understand what's going on. And you need somebody to make you feel comfortable. And this needs to be a safe space. There are no safe space for demons. There are no safe space for demons. And what we don't understand is that when you are studying to become a therapist, they introduce you to this book that's called the DSM-5. The DSM-5 is a book, okay? It is a book of demonic association. Let's just call it what it is. And I know that if you are not a believer, you're not going to understand what I'm saying. I'm not talking to y'all. I'm talking to Christian blood-bought believers, those who believe in Jesus Christ, all right? And so when people come in and they talk to you and they say, oh, I've been struggling with this, I've been struggling with that, you go to this book, you look up the symptoms of what they tell you, and then you assign them a diagnosis. As soon as you assign them a diagnosis, that gives the demonic continued legal access to their life, because that's a word curse. That is a word curse. Us as children of God, children of Jesus left us with the authority to trample over the serpent, to trample over the snake, to trample over and overcome every evil power in this world, because that's the authority he had while he was in the flesh. He has also let us know, the Bible's so beautiful because the Bible talks about how to deal with these things. There's numerous verses I can pull up about dealing with anxiety. There's numerous scriptures about how to cast your cares onto the Lord and how to find peace and joy within salvation and within the Lord. You don't need to go talk to somebody, a therapist, and get diagnosed and get a treatment plan and then learn how to do that. No, if you are a believer, go to the word of God. And I know that, it's crazy, right? But when I started to look into the origins of therapy, a lot of spectators, I don't even want to call them spectators because I believe it. They said a lot of these practices came from witch doctors, witches, people in very secular, basically, look, it's a lot. I want you to go look it up for yourself. But the Lord started to break down every single modality of therapy. And he asked me to compare it to forms of witchcraft. And one, I'm just going to share one. The whole tapping thing, I never liked that, even as a therapist. The EFT, the tapping techniques, those are the places that you have to tap in order to get these hot spots to and unlock this energy and to kind of become your higher conscious self so that you can receive healing. Those are the same spots that witches tap themselves to do the exact same thing. You cannot tell me that this is a Christ-led field. And you're talking to somebody who was a Christian therapist. And so many times I went before the throne of God, just pleading on their behalf, just praying and fasting for clients, fasting with clients. And finally I was like, Lord, something is not working. And he says that you can't cast out a demon that you keep inviting in. Every time you go and you sign off on that document that says this is their diagnosis, all you're doing is reassigning that demon back to them. It don't matter what y'all just talked about. So you're operating in witchcraft. A lot of people, their gifts are distorted by the enemy. So I believe that I have a gift of healing. I know I have a gift of influence. I know that because of my crazy, wild testimony, there's nobody that can sit in front of me and that I cannot relate to them with. But relating to people is not enough. Casting out the things that are tormenting them, that is enough. That is what we're supposed to do. So I literally, and when I learned all this stuff, it was hard because that's all I wanted to do my whole life was be a therapist. That's it. That's what I strived for in all of my ambitiousness, all of my plans. I just want to help people. I just want to help people. But I want to help people know who God is. And I want to help people experience deliverance and experience freedom and experience healing and cast out devils and get out of bondage and receive the life that God has for them. God does not have the life for you to sit here and have to take all these pills because you're dealing with all these spirits. God did not design a life for you to sit here and keep talking about your past and keep talking about the resentment you have towards your mom and your dad and these people who hurt you. The Lord didn't design for you to live a life like that. The Lord didn't design for you to live a life where you're always plagued with anxiousness and depression and tormenting thoughts and different things like that. And then you go pay or you use your insurance and you sit and talk to somebody for 50 minutes and then they teach you a coping skill. There are no coping skills with dealing with demons. There are none. There are none. There is prayer, there is fasting, there is deliverance, there is freedom. That's it. That's all. That's the recipe. So it's been a very, very, very heavy couple days receiving all the revelation from this stuff, but I'm the type of person.
Hi, Jordan. I have just seen your video on mental health and you leaving the psychology field to pursue religion because you had heard a calling from God. And I 100% respect your decision, but you had made some points in your video talking about mental health and the mental health field as a whole. And I believe some of the language you used and some of the points you made could be stigmatizing and very negative, as well as some misinformation thrown in there about mental health and mental health treatment. So you had mentioned that deliverance is what will help people get better. Salvation and giving your life to God. And I do think for some people this will help, but I think it is important that Christ and Christianity is not the focus of mental health and psychology, especially within the United States, because not everybody believes that. Psychology is a place free of judgment. And it's meant to help people of all walks of life, including those that are not religious. So I think using the language that deliverance is what will help people, it is important that will help some people, but even with those that should help, everyone should have another resource. There should be multiple support systems there for people who are struggling with their mental health. You had also mentioned that you wanted to cast out what was tormenting people, and I do think this is a good idea, teaching people how to get rid of what is tormenting them, but you do not have to do this religiously. According to the mental health and the church article by Nikiparker, she digs into spiritual warfare and the idea that mental health is caused by sin, but it's also important to recognize the other effects such as genetics, trauma, and stress, as well as some others that she lists. I really recommend that article for you, because she digs into why mental health is not a spiritual warfare, and that there are other complications in daily life that people face which can cause worsening mental health. You had also mentioned treatment options such as reading the Bible and praying it away, which is actually a negative stigma that is already revolving around religious communities, such as in Bridging the Gap article published by Central Seminary, that praying it away just pushes the problems further away, like out of sight, out of mind, and it will not solve the root cause of issues. So I think you're pushing the stigma to a very vulnerable audience, and you had mentioned that life is not all about mental health. People aren't meant to be dwelling on the past, dwelling on the negative. God hadn't designed life this way. So I think you do have a good point. Life is not designed to be negative, but there are negative aspects to life that I think need to be spoken about. So helping people come out of these negative mindsets can happen non-religiously and can happen without deliverance. Even coping mechanisms can help. In an article published by Thinking Global Health, in the article Religion and Its Role in Mental Health, there is a connection between body and mind in psychology. There's also a connection between body and mind in religion, the body and the soul. And I think using these two together, you can see the connection and you can find coping skills that are interchangeable for people that are religious and people that are not. So I do believe that helping people who are not religious is just as important, and it's important to not blame demons or using stigmatizing language that makes them feel worse and worse about their mental health, but they should be pushed towards betterment, whether or not that is in religious ways or not, because they are equally as important.